Hi everyone, Laurel here, Minnesota, Zone 5A. We had about a foot of snow within the last week at the end of March. And I was just checking on how everything fared. You can see we still have a bit of a pile here that's quickly melting. The perennials that we had, it was a couple of days of snowfall. So I put them, we got about a 4 or 5 inch snowfall. They were outside. 2 days later, we had another couple of snowfalls, and then it got really cold. It got down into the single digits. So I did put them in the shed just in case for those cold overnight temperatures, and we had some windy, cold days. That's really hard on them. I just didn't want to set them back. So the snow was really good. They needed some moisture, and it kind of slowly melted in. Now they're back out of the shed because we're going to get back into spring temperatures again, thank goodness. But I just wanted to show you what happens when you get a late spring snowfall when you've got bulbs coming up. Thankfully, a lot of stuff was not, a lot of the bigger things like tulips, daffodils, those are later spring bulbs. They just had leaves up, not a lot of buds, or if they do have buds, they're pretty low and protected by the leaves still. These popped right back, no problem. Foot of snow, no issue there. There are still some crocuses under here. You can kind of see hints of purple and those leaves sticking up. The bulbs next to the house, they barely get any moisture. The snow really has to blow hard to get in there, so they only got a thin layer of snow. The ones over here are looking beautiful though. These got the full, probably a full foot or so, roughly. I mean, it's hard to judge because they melt. But look how cheerful these crocuses are. They were all in bud, and they're even open right now because it was kind of a warm day today and sunny. They look so cheerful and beautiful sticking up from the melting snow here. Same thing with these purple mystery blooms. They were buried and they were unbothered. I think a lot of the early spring bulbs can handle cold temperatures and snow. It helps too when you do have extra cold air, like in the single digits, that you do have snow cover because it insulates the plants. It's like a blanket. Snow is like a nice warm little blanket for the plants. I still have the allium and daffodils back there poking through. You can see beyond some of the perennials and shrubs. Some green that's still coming up. A lot of the perennials that were still kind of standing up definitely got weighed down. This is more normal for spring in Minnesota. Stuff doesn't stay standing that long. Not all winter. We just had such a dry winter and so little snow. But now they're all kind of split. So within the next 2-3 weeks, I'll be cutting everything back in here. And then we did have some, so we have some tulips down here that were starting to show buds. And the buds still look good. These leaves look a little bit battered, but they'll be fine. Same thing over here. Still have buds looking good. They were protected by the leaves and the snow back here. It was very badly needed moisture as well. I think these are self-seeded from the allium that I have planted here. So I just come up and dig these up every year. I do have a patch of wild garlic that I have to stay on top of over in a different garden bed. But I think that those seeds are mainly from the ornamental allium, and they don't really cause an issue for me. Everything else just kind of hunkered down for the storm. We've still got the azalea looking nice with its buds. Can't wait to see that. This is all dead. This will be cut back. I like to leave hollow stems because that is where some insects overwinter. I believe native bees will crawl into hollow stems. I think next year I may cut them back a little bit because I read it's good to cut it back and have an opening, and then they can burrow down, and that is where they overwinter. As well as other, I can't think off the top of my head, but other insects do as well. So hollow stemmed plants like sedum, I think salvias. This is a hardy hibiscus or rose mallow. They're really late to bud, so I wouldn't expect to see any buds until it gets quite a bit warmer. Yep, so bulbs, don't worry about them. You know, if they're starting to come up, if we hadn't gotten the snow when we were getting down into the single digits, I have some plastic cloches and some frost cloth. I may have considered coming out here and covering anything that was budded up to protect it from that cold air. But since it was covered with snow, I didn't have to worry about it. Oh, is that what I think it is? Yes! A garlic is sprouting. That's the first one I've seen in this bed, so I am psyched. I will have at least one head of garlic from what I planted in this bed. As I thought, I think it's just a little bit too early yet. I think once the temperatures pick up more consistently, and this bed really warms up, especially on those sunny spring days, I think we might see a little bit more action. But this was a test year to see if I could grow garlic in this taller, less protected garden bed, raised bed, compared to, you can see how this one, even with one snowfall that's a foot of snow, it's so much lower to the ground, and that snow kind of blankets the sides of it. So that one was really successful for growing garlic in the past because it was so insulated, and you don't want your garlic bulbs to completely freeze out because that's when they will die and not come back. Thankfully, though, whatever happens to this garlic in this bed, I planted all the varieties over here in the ground as backup, which if everything comes up, that is way more garlic than I could ever use or need. So I will have plenty to eat, plenty to replant in the fall, and plenty to give away. But being that bed over here was new, I didn't want to risk it and have zero garlic come up and then be SOL. So my backup garlic is all coming up, so I'm guaranteed to have garlic harvest. You can see little bunny tracks here. Bunny prints in the snow, very cute. The hydrangeas also, normally they look like this by the end of December, where they barely have any blooms. I like the dried blooms. I left them up in the fall because while they last, I like how they look. And they lasted all winter because we didn't have any big snowfalls until now. So, but this is more typical where they're just kind of sticks with a couple of blooms here and there. And you can even see all the blooms on the ground. Normally they're all over the yard. And those will prune back also. They're not starting to bud yet, but they're so tough. They're all panicle hydrangeas. These two are firelights. I have Little Lime, Limelight, Limelight Prime. Panicle hydrangeas are very tough, so in the next few weeks I'll get those cut back as well. And I just love how those onions look. Look, you can see where the onions were laying in the snow and left a little onion print or allium print on the snow down below there. But I just love how these seed heads look sticking up. So pretty soon things will come to life. Oh, there's the mama cat. There she is, going to check out her food that's left. I didn't check if there was food under the bench. Hopefully she has an afternoon meal. She is a feral cat. She, I'm sure, was born outside, lived her whole life outside, wants nothing to do with people. She doesn't want to get close to us. She's not interested in anything we have except for food. Last year she was pregnant and started coming up to me when I was eating chicken out on the porch at the end of the summer, begging for food, so I knew she must be starving because she is not one to come near humans. So we've been feeding her ever since. She's had a second litter of kittens now. I would love if it were possible to capture her and do a trap, neuter, release program, but I don't think they even have any availability for that. But yeah, I believe, so her tracks have been going back and forth to those upside down garden carts. Underneath those garden carts is where I pile up all the like clumps of grass as I dig out grass from the garden beds. And then I have just sort of grass and roots, maybe a teeny bit of soil, topsoil on them, but mostly just grass and roots. So I've been kind of piling them up there over the years. And then I just store my garden carts upside down. And I think that made a very cozy nest for her this winter. So we might find an alternative place for her to live, because obviously I need those eventually. But for now, she's fine. And there could be a litter of kittens under there too. I don't know. We're not disturbing her. We're just letting her be. Just setting out food and letting her be. I do see some daffodils poking up through the snow back there behind the Aconocloa grass as well. So they're just fine. So don't worry too much as long as your plants aren't, I think if they were big tall bloom stalks that were either open blooms or ready to bloom, then I probably would have lost them in this level of snowfall. But, if things are starting to bloom, and even if the early spring stuff is open, they'll be fine. They should be okay with a little bit of snow. Even a lot of snow. I mean, a foot of wet snow is pretty heavy. So, and I don't know when they'll be out to grind out the stumps from the 2 trees. You can just barely see, probably can't even see it on camera, just 2 like little mounds in the snow where they used to be. I'll be very curious to see how much sun this area gets, especially during the hot part of the day. But I'm excited to plant a bunch of more trees and all kinds of fun stuff. Just keep evolving. Anyway, that is all. Just wanted to kind of show you what happened in the garden with all that big snow. Overall, it's going to be a fantastic thing because we were very dry. We were in drought all winter. And they say that now the Twin Cities, at least, is out of drought mode for the time being, thanks to the snowfall. It was roughly equivalent of 2.5 inches of rain. It was kind of a mix. We had snowed, and then it rained, and then it snowed, and rained, and mixed. Luckily, there wasn't any really bad icy patches that I experienced. That's the worst. But even though I don't love snow, we're all eager for spring. We really needed some kind of moisture, so I'm glad to have it. Look at this, honeysuckle is just ready to burst. Can't wait. Look at that. Yay. Anyway, I'll leave you there. That is all. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, and please subscribe.